The No Nonsense Roundtable, a weekly radio show and podcast where host Thom Jennings interviews guests from all walks of life, all with amazing stories to tell. And now, here's your host, Thom Jennings.
Well, welcome everybody to another edition of your No Nonsense Roundtable. I'm Thom Jennings, your host, every Saturday right here from 10 to 11. And today I have somebody. I'm pretty much impressed that I finally came across this fella, and he knows a lot about the music business. Been in the is in the Niagara Falls Music Hall of Fame. Is it?
Yep, Niagara Falls Music Hall of Fame, 2023 recipient of the Lifetime Music Achievement Award.
And that's pretty good. That's going to give us a whole show right there, because a Lifetime Achievement Awards means you've been achieving things all your all your life. And his name is Thom Jennings, and I'm so happy to have you here, buddy.
Oh, a pleasure's mine. Yeah, I actually reached out to you to get on the show, so it worked out for both of us.
Well, you know, the whole thing is that this is people you know and you want to know more about, and people that you don't know. And I don't know you, but now looking at your body of work and the people that you've interviewed, and it's one of those things where, you know, I wish I was in your head. You know, the things that you've done and the things that you've seen. So, you know, let's start off with a question I ask people all the time. It's a little silly question. What did you want to do when you were 10 years old?
Oddly enough, I wanted to be a newscaster. And I know we were just talking in the other room before we came out about Don Alhart. And Don, you know, was such an iconic figure in Rochester television for a long time. But yeah, I used to have Matchbox cars, and I would pretend I would build like a little TV studio behind it. And so I'd have my Matchbox cars, and I'd set up a little TV studio, and I wanted to be a TV newscaster. And then later at some point I wanted to go into radio, and I kind of did a little bit of both, but on a part-time basis. Well,
it's like a straight line. Like, I mean, like I love talking about this, is that I've had two different women say they wanted to be cowgirls. You know, okay. But Don Alhart, and I like telling the story too, he had a impromptu radio station in his house when he was in grammar school. He would do reports on, you know, the sickness of the neighbor's cat and stuff like that. And, you know, it's just a straight line. So you stayed in the general same direction.
Well, not really. I mean, I had a very interesting trajectory. And one of the things I used to do when I was a kid, too, is I used to mimic Howard Cosell. Which is
Can you do that? Can you do that now?
This is Howard Cosell. We are here with Muhammad Ali, the greatest boxer ever.
Oh, this is going to be a great interview.
And you know, it's an impression that's lost on people. You know, Rod Serling of the Twilight Zone as well, which nobody really knows. Yeah. And I mean, the Rochester connection there is he passed away at Strong, but. To go back to the trajectory, so I got married at a very young age and kind of set all my dreams aside. And then I got divorced and went to college, and that's when I started my journalism career. And I often joke that, you know, I had a midlife crisis and I had choice between buying a Harley Davidson or going into, you know, pursue journalism. So I pursued journalism at that point, at least as a part-time vocation.
Less accidents that way.
Oh, true. Yes.
So where'd you go to school, to college?
SUNY Brockport. So I actually started at Genesee Community College, did 2 years there, and then got I dropped out of high school at age 16. I went to school out Walls in Rochester, grew up in Brighton, just to back up. So I didn't go to college till I was 35. Did 2 years GCC, and then got my bachelor's and master's at SUNY Brockport.
So your first job was writing or doing what?
Oh, well, my first writing gig was actually at SUNY Brockport. And it's a funny story because they had a student newspaper. It's still published. It's called The Stylus. And I was an adult student, so I was commuting. I couldn't find a parking spot. So I wrote this angry editorial about how ticked off I was that I'd spent this money for college and I can't find a parking spot. And the editor reads it and he goes, I can't publish this because I got friends at parking services and they'll skewer me. But you're a great writer. Would you like to write about something else? So that kind of morphed into an op-ed column. And then when I was doing op-eds, I used to get death threats, and people get really crazy about op-eds. So I said, man, I got to write about something that's a little less divisive. So that's when I kind of pivoted into the music scene.
Okay, that really compels a question. Well, okay, what is the one story that you read that you wrote really riled people up?
Oh my goodness. Well, I remember this very well. So actually it was later on. I was running for a newspaper called the Medina Journal-Register, and I wrote a piece about they were building an ethanol plant out there, and they had hired some workers from North Carolina that had wound up, staying at a local motel and building a meth lab. So I wrote a story about how they should have hired people locally instead of hiring guys that were going to build a meth lab. And I thought this was, I'm like, is there another take on this story that I'm missing? So the following week I had a hate letter to the editor about how I was anti-farmer because I wasn't supporting the meth lab. Yeah, and I'm like, no, I support the ethanol plant. And I'm glad that farmers can sell corn. I just don't want guys selling meth, So yeah, but that was by far the most divisive column I ever wrote, and it's so funny because to me, I never thought that there could be another take on not wanting meth labs built in your communities.
Yeah, well, they're flat earthers too. You never know. You can't please everybody. The meth community isn't exactly organized all that well. They don't have regional meetings. So
yeah, there's no craft meth labs. You got like craft beer. You got the home brewers. All these things and the different types. Meth is just. Yeah. I think most of us agree that just meth is a bad thing.
Yeah. I'm just laughing. Now, you're compelling me to think of Amazon selling meth.
Yeah, sure.
That's local meth guys. That's the guy you want. Stay away from the big national guy. So how did you get involved in the music thing and interviewing all the? I looked at your bio there. You've like interviewed like everybody.
It's really just through, I guess, my relationship skills when I started out, and you always have to start somewhere. Mm-hmm. And the first national act I interviewed was a group called the Secret Sisters. They're a country duo. They're still around. Great music. I recommend you check them out. But
they're secret.
They're secret.
That's the problem.
Knows about them.
That's the problem.
They're secretly sisters.
Yes.
But so their publicist represented some big name acts. I knew I wasn't going to be able to get the big name acts, but I figured if I start working with some of the smaller acts, then you establish a relationship with the publicist. They know that you're not crazy, and eventually they begin to work with you. Bruce Pilato is another example. We've brought him up, someone that I admire greatly. Bruce is a very easy guy to work with, and he's one of those people that once he trusts you, and you need to be hooked up with an interview with Carl Palmer, or, he hooked me up with John Wetton of Asia, which was just a pinch me moment. Yeah. And, that's the thing. At the end of the day, if you're nice and accommodating, most people will accommodate you. So,
well, you have this outgoing way about you. It's got to help. One thing that Bruce, I've learned a lot from Bruce, and Bruce, said, well, he's interviewed 3 of the 4 Beatles. He says he's interviewing Paul McCartney, and he knows that Paul McCartney's son likes model airplanes. So he starts talking to him about that rather than the stuff that everybody else talks about. The funny thing is I was interviewing Carl Palmer, and I said, one of the questions that somebody told me to ask him is that, well, I heard back when, and the person that told me to ask this question is a highly respected professional journalist. He says, well, ask him about how he went to see the Buddy Rich movie, whatever the drums, whatever the name of it was, and how that inspired him and whatever. So I figure this journalist tells me to do that. He does this for a living. It's great. I say this to Carl Palmer. I says, Carl, tell us how the blah, blah, blah. He goes, oh, that's a tired question. Oh, geez, so it takes a certain quality to drag things out of people. So what do I need to do to drag something out of you?
Out of me?
Probably nothing. Just say talk,
take
right?
Much. As long as you're not an officer of the law, I'll talk. I've made that mistake many times. My sister's an attorney. She's like, you have the right to remain silent. It's not always that easy.
We should do that in our marriages, yes, right to remain silent. And we are about ready to head into a break, and we are going to talk more about not being silent when we come back from this. Well, welcome back. We are having a great conversation with Mr. Thom Jennings, a journalist, a music aficionado. Seems to be a really nice guy. I'm sorry it took this long for me to meet you. I mean, I've been here since '94, so I guess it's your fault.
It's definitely my fault.
It's definitely your fault. So let's talk about some of these people that you have interviewed. Like who's the? Did you? Let's talk about something nasty first. It was tell me, was there somebody that you interviewed and you're like, oh, I wish I didn't even talk to that guy?
Oh yes, of course. I don't remember the guy's name. He was the lead singer for a group, Fastball, and Fastball had this one hit. It's called "The Way," and going back to when you interview somebody, I try not to start with the same canned questions because they tend to go south for pretty quickly. Uh-huh. And so I don't even remember what the question was, but at some point he said to me, he goes, it doesn't really matter how I answer this question because whatever you write isn't going to bring any more people to the show anyway. The people that are going to go are going to go. And honestly, I think this is a waste of my time.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Whoa.
And I was very upset.
That's cold.
Yeah. Yeah. He,
that's cold.
So I didn't know what to do with the article. I didn't know whether to print the quote or not. And I mean, a part of me was going, well, maybe I just don't write the story. But I did, and I tried to write it from the perspective of an artist who was maybe frustrated at the trajectory of their career because the band had become so synonymous with the one song and maybe looked at and perceived as a one-hit wonder when they really had a kind of a vast body of work. So I tried to be sympathetic / empathetic to his anger at the time and maybe not take it personally, but I took it personally. I mean, how do you not take something like that personally?
But you're making kind of like a moral decision there too. Oh, yeah. With that thing. This is the truth. This is what I've seen. This is how I interpret it. There's really no other way to interpret this. And what his motivations are, maybe a moment of anxiety, or he's just nuts or mean. You have to make a decision whether you're going to bury the lead or not, right?
Oh yeah.
And it's not like hard news where, you're going to get tattooed for not leaving something in there that you should. So,
I mean, if I didn't run the story at all, nothing would have happened. I mean, It was a publicist I had a relationship with. So I also felt kind of a push and pull where, I don't want to disparage an artist because I don't. Right. And in fact, early on in my journalism career, I received a lot of criticism because I never wrote like a negative concert review. And what I tried to say to that person was that, well, I'm a fan. When I go to a show, I don't go to see if the guitar is a quarter note out of tune. Yeah. I go to have a good time. Yeah. And even if I don't have a good time, somebody there is having a good time and I'm writing the story for them. I want to validate this great experience I had. I'm not the highfalutin like, well, they focused too much on the earlier material and they weren't that great. Yeah. And so I've embraced that. But for a while I felt a little bit of a tinge because my father, he grew up reading the Sunday New York Times and those New York Times writers, I mean, they could really skewer you.
Yeah. They took great delight in skewering you. You see one of these reviews. I just saw one in the newspaper about Dolly Parton's new Broadway show, and it's not quite finished yet. It's not going to be on Broadway until the spring or something like that. And whoever it was like already burying the darn thing. So who's the most famous person you ever, or one of them that you ever interviewed?
Aretha Franklin, I think, rises to the top.
Yeah,
she was great.
So tell me about Aretha.
Oh, I love this story. I could tell this. I'm just getting slightly verklempt because it involves my mother as well. But I just happened to get through a relationship with the venue that she was performing at. She had been off for a period of time due to illness, and she was doing her first public performance from, I don't know if it was a heart bypass or something along those lines. And I had done my research, and it turned out she had spent some time in Buffalo. And her Wikipedia page, which I know some people say that Wikipedia is inaccurate because it is on a fair amount. Yeah. But it said on the Wikipedia page that her first public performance was in Buffalo. And I didn't know that. I didn't know there was any connection to Buffalo. So it turned out her mom had been a nurse in Buffalo. And, when her parents split, she went with her father to Detroit. But there was this strong Buffalo connection. So I found the house that she lived in when she lived in Buffalo, and she didn't have the address. So I gave her the address, and she was just, she was so grateful. And it was like talking to you, and I'd heard a lot of things about, Aretha Franklin, you got to be careful with her. But it was, we talked about the Blues Brothers movie, which I'm a huge fan of. We talked about her time in Buffalo and some other things, but she actually put down the phone, wrote down the address of the house, and I could hear in the background going, "Oh, this young man found the house, so we're going to be able to stop and see it." So then after the show, she came out, and my mom was with me, and she went up to my mother, and she goes, "You have such a wonderful young son." And I wasn't even that young at the time, but it was just
that's a great story. That's a great human story.
It's a great human story, especially for somebody so iconic as Aretha Franklin. And I think it's what makes it nice is that it felt like when I think of Aretha Franklin, I think of the human being. I don't think of the larger than life. Lady was saying respect.
I think some of these artists get their, to put it in a metaphor, people are tugging on their sleeves so much, wanting attention, that they put up a little bit of a shell. And, I saw that I get to be very good friends with Gene Cornish. Gene Cornish, once he gets to know you and you don't want anything from him, and he understands you don't want anything from him, you could be a really good friend with Gene. But Gene is not one of these guys that automatically is very ingratiating himself with you or whatever. Jack Gardner was like that too. Jack Gardner and I have a little common background because he went to St. Bonaventure. I went to St. Bonaventure. He was the station manager at St. Bonaventure. I was the station manager at St. Bonaventure at a radio station. And the first time I met Jack was like that. Jack was like that. Oh, you want to come I want you to come on my show, Jack. Hey, show? What kind of show do you have? What would I be doing there? Whatever. And then after you got to know Jack was, just a genuinely warm person. So maybe that's a little bit with Aretha. You cut through that little bit of resistance she had there.
I mean, if you having since read her autobiography and knowing some of her background, I could see where she would have some trepidation. I mean, I went through a kind of a similar situation with Peter Frampton. Peter Frampton had a very,
I love Peter Frampton.
Very negative relationship with the media. And I interviewed his bass player. I knew I wasn't going to get Peter because he just didn't do a lot of interviews at that time. And I wrote up the piece, and then I was attending a show, and somebody came out and said, "Oh, Peter wants to meet you."
Wow, that's cool.
So they pulled me backstage, and it wasn't one of those generic meet and greets or any of that other stuff. And he just said, I really appreciated your take on things and the way that you wrote it. And really my take at the time was, and this was 10 years before he was inducted into the Rock Hall, I said, people need to reconsider the trajectory of this guy's career and his work ethic and all that he's done and stop, looking at the Sgt. Pepper movie and all that other stuff and look at how iconic he is. And he should be in something like the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. And evidently, I was one of the first people to ever write that about him, and he appreciated it. And we hung out, and it was him and my wife and myself, and we just had a normal conversation backstage. So it was pretty cool. And I told him, it's fun because I don't know if you've ever seen the Sgt. Pepper movie with Peter Frampton. It's one of those movies that is very campy. But I saw it when I was 14, and I saw it with my father. Okay. So it was important to me. Mm-hmm. And I was able to share that with him, regardless of what it did to your career or what people said it did to your career, this was a movie that meant something to me. And I think it was nice for him to hear that instead of the, why did you do that horrible movie? It completely destroyed your career at the time, which maybe is true, but for everything, there's always somebody that is going to find meaning in it or find something that's special.
Yeah, you can't tick off everybody.
No.
Although my wife says I try. So with that, we are headed into the news break, and we will be talking more with Thom, after the news break. Well, we're back with Thom Jennings, I guess a journalist. Would you say that? I mean, a radio guy. You said let's talk about radio a little bit. Radio has changed a lot over the years. Yeah. I mean, when you talk to people now, of course, your age, my age, we remember the day when radio was big. I mean, your influencer was not somebody on the internet with millions of viewers. You're talking about Cousin Brucey or Casey Kasem or my favorite was Don Imus. Imus in the morning. Yeah. Let's see. What was the song? I don't care if it rains or freezes as long as I got my plastic Jesus riding on the dashboard of my car. I can go 100 million miles an hour as long as I have my almighty power. Riding up there by my pair of fuzzy dice. Well, I mean, that was from 19. Yeah, like why is this occupying any space in my brain at all, Thom? Yeah. But that was Imus in the morning with the duck quacking after that. Imus in the morning, quack quack, and those were the days. We were talking about before the show. We were talking about Jack Palvino.
Yep, Palvino in the morning.
Palvino in the morning. He said he never worked a day in his life. He says he went there, he had fun and. Just the personality. He says, and what he said about back then, he says, we were kings. He says, we couldn't pay for a drink or a tank of gas or whatever. We were kings. And I think that's something that, back then, communication required transportation. And you didn't hear, you didn't have CDs and whatever. You listened on the radio. You got together with your guys in your nice cars,
Yeah, no, I have such very fond memories of early disc jockeys. Scott Van Dusen, his tag for WCMF was Cruising with Van Dusen, and he used to let me just kind of hang out with him in the studio late at night. And Uncle Roger, Roger McCall, who sadly was murdered, and they never found the perpetrator for that. But just he was the overnight guy, and he was a guy you could just call up and hey, will you play this song? And you'd be hanging out with your buddies, and to hear a song that you requested on the radio was always a huge deal. But I grew up listening to all those guys, and you can't. I mean, you're right. I think it's even if you go back as far as, let's say, the Beatles on Ed Sullivan, it's such a captive audience because there was only a few television stations.
Right.
You just can't have that anymore. That's why there'll never be another Beatles, because there's no medium that has the reach that television used to have. And again, if you wanted to consume or find new music, you had to go to radio. And unfortunately, radio is no longer the big thing it used to be.
Right. And the thing is, I mean, look at the spectacles that they have now. I mean, you can't. I mean, you have Taylor Swift. You have somebody in a big stadium that holds 40,000 people, and they're riding around in a car suspended from the ceiling, and and the tickets are how much? Oh, my Lord. Although David Byrne's coming up to Buffalo soon. Now I saw him on Broadway with his American Utopia. It was really, really, really good. So I looked the other day to see what the tickets are. They're like $300 a ticket. Really? Wow. I mean that is. I mean, I have tickets from the 1977 World Series Game 6 when Reggie Jackson hit the 3 home runs. I can show you the tickets, and the ticket was $15.
Yeah.
I mean, things have changed.
Oh, for sure. I mean, the ticketing industry in general just is. I mean, I remember going to Record Theater in Midtown Plaza and waiting overnight to get tickets in the morning. I had a good friend. He's part of the Rochester music scene, Todd Bradley, who worked there. And he set aside tickets for me, so I always got the best tickets. But they were $650, $850.
Yeah, I know.
Now they're $650,
I know.
$850.
I know. And then you see the young women online crying, I wanted to go see, but I can't go see. Oh my Lord, please, please. Yeah. Okay, so let's talk about some of the fun interviews you've done. I know you have plenty of stories. Let me dig them out of you.
Sure.
Go ahead.
Sure. Fun interviews. Oh my gosh, they're all fun. I mean, my favorite artist is Todd Rundgren, so I've interviewed Todd, I don't know, 8 or 9
Todd
times.
Rundgren.
Yes.
I have a... You might as well say you're a Red Sox fan, okay?
Really?
No, seriously, Todd Rundgren. Now, okay. I'm just saying Bonaventure. And, right. You know, you can hold a grudge for like 50 years, okay? So I was there, and he came to play, you know, so he would not play Hello, It's Me. Mm-hmm. He wouldn't play. He says, well, I've played that before. Yes, but I haven't paid money to hear you play it before. And then he falls on his ass and he doesn't skip a beat. So he's lip syncing the darn thing. Oh, I hold a grudge for a long time. That was long time. No, yeah, Todd Rundgren. And you got along with Todd Rundgren.
Oh, Todd. Yeah, no, I'm a huge Todd fan. He's actually going to be at CMAC opening up for Heart on Friday. I've seen him over 200 times, just to give you a little perspective.
Well, it's been nice knowing you, and if you want to stop back next, next on the show is that's amazing to me. Okay.
Yeah,
now have you hung out with him? And,
yeah, for sure. He's a different character. He's the Hello It's Me thing is I think every artist sort of struggles with a song. You know, there's a lot of times I'll use the example of Leonard Skinner. Okay. So Leonard Skinner, you go to a Leonard Skinner concert, the last song of the night's going to be Sweet Home Alabama, and then they're going to come out and encore with Freebird. Yeah. They're never going to be able to get away from that. And to some people, that can be a bit of a millstone. And Todd has always had a very conflicted relationship with the song Hello, It's Me. It was the very first song that he ever wrote. It was about a relationship when he was in high school that he doesn't like to think about. And he still performs it semi-frequently now.
But not for me.
Well, if you go Friday night to CMAC, he'll perform it
just for me. Yeah, just for me.
He will. It is on his current set list.
Oh, for God's sake! It's like having a plumber coming over to your house and you go, "Well, I'm sorry, I don't work with water." You know, I mean, you know,
it is a catch-22. This group, Soul Asylum. I don't know if you're familiar with them. No. So they had this one record that was just huge, and they had 2 big hits on it. And for some reason, the following tour, they refused to play any of the hits, and people get really upset with that. But that's a genuine thing when it comes to different artists. Some artists have this feeling. You know, you were just mentioning Gene Cornish. You know, I mean, there's certain things that if Gene plays out, he's expected to play, and if he doesn't, you're going to be a little bit disappointed. But I think there's always artists that say, yeah, I'm not going to play it because I don't feel like it.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I mean, it depends who's paying who. You know, right. I mean, if you're working, you know, you're working for your audience. What did the audience think they paid for? You know, I understand having some new stuff that's melded in with the old stuff, but you know, it's like, I guess it's like a garden party. Right? Yep. You know, I heard that. I guess Bob Dylan was really fond of Ricky Nelson's Garden Party song, you know, because, you know, I played Mary Lou. I saw she belonged to me, you know, and they did, you know, whatever it is the lyrics are, they didn't, you know, they booed him off the stage or whatever it was. But he says you got to please yourself, I suppose. So let's talk about some more of these fun interviews. What else you got?
Oh my God, Garth Brooks was.
He's good. I like him.
Yeah, he. When he was in Buffalo the last time we were, you know, chatting, he gave me a box of sponge candy to give to my wife for a piece of sponge candy. Yeah. So she was very excited. But he was a very nice guy. One of my treasured interviews was actually with Marie Osmond.
Really?
Yes. Yeah. She. I mean, I grew up watching the Osmonds, and it was one of those strange situations where I'm just hanging out and I get this email and said, "Oh, if you're available within the next hour, would you like to interview Marie Osmond?" I said, "Sure, I'll interview her. That'd be great." And they said, "Okay, you know, you got 15 minutes. These are the things you could talk about, you know, blah, blah, blah." So I'm kind of expecting this very guarded environment, which you're sort of used to. I mean, sometimes they vet you and sometimes they don't. So she gets on the phone. We wound up talking for, 45 minutes about everything and anything. It turns out we're both, you know, record collectors, is all kinds of stuff. So she says, "I really want you to come out to the show." So I go see her at the show at this casino in Buffalo, Niagara Falls. and we get front row seats. I'm like, wow, this is great. I never get front row seats. I usually get, set somewhere in the back. So during the show, she walks over and she points to me and she goes, are you the reporter I talked to last week? I go, yeah. She goes, all right, well, we'll come up on stage. Oh. So she had me up on stage and we sang Crazy together. So, I mean, that was great.
Oh, so there's another talent you have. You sing.
I do. Yes. Yeah. She didn't know that, which is kind of funny because the video is online somewhere. And the woman that's taking the video with her phone, she goes, he can sing. So, like, I don't know if they were expected to be like crazy, but yeah. So when I sang it, and it was great because when it came to my part, you could see the look on her face where she was like, oh wow. Yeah. And then she had my wife and I backstage, and she gave us a great amount of time, probably 25, 30 minutes, and just I have nothing negative to say about Marie Osmond. Just a genuinely decent human being. So, Marie, if you're listening, thank you.
Yeah. Well, you never know until you meet them. The funny thing is that sometimes you get combinations. So I interviewed Bobby Rush, okay, and I interviewed Kalia Ali, who was Muhammad Ali's first wife. And I found out that they knew each other. Yeah. And so I put them on a 3-way call. I mean, you get these moments like, how does this happen? You happen to be in the right place at the right time. And I can't play that whole thing. The two of them are talking about the old days and, in Chicago and down south and stuff like that. There's not ready yet for the radio. Let's put it that way. Did you ever have, let's keep on going with that path where we're crafting about interesting people. Come on, you give me more of that. Drop a few more names. Drop a few more names. People like to hear names.
Well, Lou Graham. I mean, you have to talk about Lou in Rochester. I've interviewed Lou 3 or 4 times. Nothing like you would expect in terms of, here's a guy that's just a larger than life rock star with a catalog of songs that is just mind-blowing. Just very sweet, kind of gentle, and very honest too. I appreciated Lou's one of those guys. I think once again you establish a relationship with him and he trusts you, he'll be honest with you. And one of the things I've prided myself on is I'll have a lot of people tell me stuff off the record, and to me that's the ultimate compliment because they know that I'm not going to use it.
You have the integrity to keep quiet about that stuff. Yeah, I've seen people kind of stalk. And you've seen that famous people, and they want to be seen with them, and they want to have a picture taken with them, and they're just pulling on their shirt sleeves, and real genuine guys, they're really not fond of that,
No, and again, I think somebody, to me, it's if I get a picture with someone, it's cool. Like if Paul McCartney wanted to get a picture with me, of course I'm going to get a picture with Paul McCartney. But if I had a choice between hanging out and chatting with him for 20 minutes, like, maybe Bruce had the opportunity to do, I would always pick that.
I like the way you worded that. There's a lot of self-confidence in that. Like, if Paul McCartney wanted to get a picture with me,
you picked up on that.
That shows a lot of self-confidence. Yes,
well, it's funny. Speaking
he's got to George Harrison. Is that Thom Jennings down there? Yeah. Let's get him up on stage. Let's have him sing with us.
Well, my Ringo story, and I'm sure.
Oh yeah, let's do a Ringo story.
So Ringo, he would start his tours at. In Seneca, Niagara, which is the casino that I was covering a lot of shows at. And I don't want to mention the fact that Ringo's toured with Todd Rundgren multiple times because I know Todd Rundgren is a touchy subject. But so I'm at this, I think it was the 3rd press conference I was at with Ringo.
You're passive aggressive. You're a really nice guy, but you are passive aggressive. Go ahead.
Very defensive to my guy Todd. So So Ringo, I said, when I have the audio of it, because I play it for anybody to listen, I go, hey Ringo, Thom Jennings, Niagara Gazette. And he goes, hey Tom, nice to see you again. And I was like, Nice to see you again too, Ringo. But yeah, that was kind of a cool moment.
What a brilliant concept he has. If anybody hasn't seen Ringo, so Ringo, and I explained it this way, you tell me if I'm off base with this. So Ringo doesn't have a big enough portfolio to do 2 hours Ringo by himself. Okay, so he has the all-stars. So he had like Edgar Winter and Todd Rundgren, and he puts a program together where I saw him at CMAC. It was really a lot of fun because he's having fun and he's not carrying, how many times you can your sweet 16 in your mind, how many times you can hear that, and it was really great. But that the Ringo Starr and his All-Stars, a brilliant concept.
Yeah. Well, the Beatles didn't, they gave up touring in 1966 and probably because, and there's a lot of Beatles aficionados out there. So if I'm wrong, please skewer me wherever you want to in social media. But from what I could tell, it was Lennon and Harrison who really just didn't want to tour. I mean, Paul has toured extensively since then, and Ringo, and Ringo he's one of those guys that just likes to play. I think he could put together a good solid 90 minutes worth of material. He's been very prolific in terms of material he's released. He still puts out albums on a fairly regular basis. But I think from a marketing standpoint and just an entertainment standpoint, you're right. It's brilliant because you get the 4 or 5 Beatles songs. Yeah. He'll probably do Photograph, which is a solo song, and it don't come easy. But then the rest of it, you get the guys from Toto, and it's just it's just a fun evening of music where you know every single song. I
mean, Edgar Winter, he's playing Frankenstein. That's really cool. I mean, it's not something you hear every day.
No, and anybody that I've ever spoken to that's been in any incarnation of the All-Star Band always says, "Oh man, I got a chance to play with a Beatle." Yeah. And and I mean, and if I could play the Spoons with Ringo Starr for 3 minutes, I'd be able to go, here I just related a story where he just made the one comment to me, and it's just like, and I felt like, Chris Farley interviewing Paul McCartney on SNL.
If anybody hasn't seen that, you got to see that YouTube of Farley. That is precious. It really is. Well, the thing is that they're all human beings. Yeah. Scott Mayo, I would imagine, right? Scott Mayo, he's was Sergio Mendez's music director. Lives in L.A. Has a great career out there. He's a brass guy, and he says that he was on one of Paul's albums. And he says he's hanging around, and Paul and here talking, and Paul goes to him. He goes, "Isn't it wonderful?" He goes, "What's wonderful?" He says, "You know what? We get to do what we were meant to do." And, it's Paul. I mean, this guy's worth $1 billion, right? Yep. And he doesn't have to be nice, but he is nice. Yep. And he and Scott was like, man, he just treated me like I was an equal. And that's what I like about people like you. You treated me like an equal.
Well, of course. Yeah. I mean, it's funny. I often tell people this. I've had harder times dealing with kind of regional and local musicians than I ever have. Yeah. Like Aretha Franklin or Garth Brooks or Ringo Starr and Peter Frampton and all these guys that you grow up listening to, and when you're around them, you still get that tingling feeling because you're just but then you get some of these guys on a local level that have such self-importance. It's just it's depressing.
Well, one of the things, to that point, and I have this Facebook group. It's called Rochester Music Mafia, and I try to do is be like the Buffalo,
right,
like the Bills Mafia, and just pose a couple of questions. And one of the things I find about some local guys in particular is when they go and they give these incredible opinions about something political, one way or the other. It doesn't make any difference if it's left or right, okay? They make this statement, and I don't think they understand the import that you could be ticking off somebody who doesn't want to buy a ticket, doesn't want to hear that. He wants you to perform, and your opinion is your opinion, and you take a risk in that.
Yep.
You take a risk and you're offending somebody and you don't even know you're offending them. It's like, this fish isn't coming downstream to where you are, because you did this. And the thing is that I get the feedback from some people, well, I'm going to do what I'm going to do. But okay, if you can afford to tick off 50% of your audience, that's fine. Or the other thing is if you have a sponsor and you're going out and you're saying this, and this, okay, that's really great, but maybe your sponsor does. I had that happen years ago. Somebody was on my show. He's like, "Well, how's that?" I was like, "Listen, I have to sell cars to Democrats and Republicans." That's sort of what I'm thinking about with some of these things. But with that, we are actually out of time, which is. And so maybe you can come back one of these days.
I would love to. Yeah, I would anytime you want. I'm always up for. An opportunity to do my Howard Cosell impersonation or anybody else. So.
Well, it's a delight meeting you. Thanks for reaching out, and we'll have to get together again. You are, some people their soul shows through on the outside. You're one of those people. You really are.
Way too kind of you to say, but I do.
Well, I do have one fault. I'm too kind.
Well, I do appreciate the compliments. It's very nice. It's on my end. This is just an honor to be on the show, as I'd mentioned.
Well, then you have very low standards. This is not. Says you have your expectations.
I will say this, if you meet my wife, you'll know I have very high standards because she is an incredibly wonderful woman.
Yeah.
So there you go.
Yeah, you're lucky. I'm lucky too. It's and having you on the show is the least I can do. And I always do the very least I can do. So until next week at 10 o'clock, it's the No Nonsense Roundtable. And we'll see. Yeah, we won't see anybody then. We will be talking at you then.
Thanks for listening. You can find our previous shows at nononsenseroundtable.com. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll make more.